Industrial Hemp Symposium and Legislative Forum. And whether everybody in the hemp industry likes it or not, what you do is inherently political and legislative, because you are directly affected by decisions that are being made on the regulatory end and the legal end. And so it's very important for participants in the industry and aspiring participants in the industry to learn about some of the things we're going to be talking about today in terms of the legal framework around industrial hemp, and share ideas and for action around making it easier for the industry. We all know about the importance of industrial hemp, from body products to building supplies to biofuels to food supplements, over 25,000 products. Not only is hemp an environmentally conscious product, it's a job creator, economy booster. I'm very proud that in Colorado we are truly in the forefront of industrial hemp. We also know about our great legacy of hemp and how many of our founding fathers cultivated it, and some of the very first American flags were made from hemp as well. The 1850 census documented that there were 8,400 hemp plantations of at least 2,000 acres. So it'll be interesting to see what date we can return and surpass the historic production levels of 1850, but hopefully that's only a few years away. From 1937 until 1960, the United States government recognized industrial hemp, and of course even promoted it through videos and USDA, until somehow it became conflated with other members of the cannabis family later on, obviously really hurting the ability of farmers across the country to be able to grow industrial hemp. In January, I sponsored legislation, the Industrial Hemp Farming Act, to remove hemp from the Controlled Substances Act once and for all. That would be a very clear change, very easy change. The bipartisan bill let farmers and manufacturers develop hemp free from federal interference. We haven't gotten a vote on that bill. The ability of getting votes on bills is always challenging, but we were able to force a vote and win a vote on a related hemp bill, as many of you recall, in 2013, when I introduced an amendment to the Farm Bill that would allow colleges and universities to grow and cultivate industrial hemp for academic and agricultural research. Obviously, thinking here in our state of CSU and Fort Collins, but of course across the country, because there has been very little development of this crop over the last several decades, because universities, which are partially federally funded, have all been very hesitant to even have any on campus, and particularly when we're talking about developing seed and strains that work, that kind of academic and scientific work is very, very important. And I'm glad to say that CSU and CU and many other universities have begun research on hemp, and Colorado State has over 30 varieties planted this year, several classes about hemp and the economy. So we're very excited to see that, and that wouldn't have been able to happen if we hadn't been able to pass that amendment to the Farm Bill. Both CSU and CSU have been granted registrations through the Colorado Department of Agriculture, who we'll also be hearing from today, to research and develop hemp. Their research had been held up prior to that due to lack of cooperation and clarification from the DEA. So that's one of the things we continue to work with our universities on, is getting what they need with the federal regulators. The DEA violated this amendment last summer when it seized hemp seeds intended for university research in Kentucky. We then were able to pass another amendment that prohibited the Department of Justice and DEA from using funds to prevent state agricultural agencies and universities from growing industrial hemp in states where it's already legal. So the DEA was kind of going rogue on this, and we were able to, through Congress, prevent them from doing that by removing their funding to do that. And I called on my colleagues in Congress and the USDA to be proactive in making resources available for hemp research. And I think that's going to be very much in line with the future that we're building for the industrial hemp industry. I was very pleased to learn the USDA will be supporting industrial hemp research through the National Institute on Food and Agriculture, NIFA. And with NIFA research grants, research institutions and farmers can expand their research well beyond the original capacity. Secretary Vilsack was in town about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I had the chance to talk with him and update him on our industrial hemp economy here in Colorado. Several of my colleagues and I were also concerned with the recent statement of principles on industrial hemp, and while it was a step forward, it had some shortcomings. And we renewed our call on Secretary Vilsack to remove the agency's definition of industrial hemp or revise it to be the same as the one we used in the Farm Bill. Confirm that general commercial activity doesn't prevent any type of sale occurring from the framework of an approved pilot program. Very importantly, remove the attempted prohibition on transporting plants and seeds across state lines in 2 states where it's legal. So that's a very important one. And confirm that the state will not be penalized for securing seed and plant shipments from other states. So obviously it doesn't make sense to recreate the wheel in every single state. We are the United States after all, and we ought to be able to, like we do with any other industrial crop, move seeds across our own state borders. So thank you for coming today. We're gonna have an interesting panel discussion, and hopefully this is a way that we can engage all of you in the legislative process, the legal and regulatory process around what already is and promises to be a very important industrial crop for our country, with ramifications in consumer product industry, industrial engineering, and many, many other areas. Each panelist will introduce themselves and give a brief presentation. I'll try to, Mara, is it 5 minutes each that they speak before questions? 2, okay. So we're gonna try to, so that's about a 10, we'll say 3, so we're missing one of our panels. So we'll go 3 minutes each. You know, just a little bit about who you are, and then about the important past, present, and future of industrial hemp. And we'll start with Barbara to my immediate right.
Yeah.
Hi,
No.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, I've worked with industrial hemp in all the developing countries, Romania, Poland, Hungary, China, South Korea, Canada, for 23 years. Prior to that, I've worked with natural fibers in India from field to finished products. So I have economic development experience, field to fabric processing, and supply chain value added. My focus on hemp, but it's not the only sustainable value-added agricultural crop. And I'm 42 years in natural fiber, textile engineering, basically.
Rick Trojan with Colorado Cultivars, the Hemp Road Trip and the Industrial Hemp Research Foundation. We have about 1,240 acres under cultivation this year, mainly growing for seed for grain and for CBD secondarily. We have a road trip, our bus is out the back. We've been to 40 states, about 35,000 miles across the country, just telling people what hemp is and what hemp is not, showing them the different products that can be made from hemp, talking with legislators at the state and federal level, trying to help pass the Farm Act.
My name is Morris Beagle from Colorado Hemp Company. Local guy here in Loveland. I grew up here. I grew up on a farm. I went to CSU. I've been in the music business for about 25 years. I started Colorado Hemp Company in 2012, basically as an extension of my skill set in the music industry, doing merchandise, events, printing. And since then, we've started the NOCO Hemp Expo. We did Hemp on the Slope. We started to work with festivals like the Rice Festival, bringing together hemp companies to promote products to the marketplace, as well as interact on a business level. We've also got a printing company called Tree Free Hemp. We do hemp paper, so we do business cards, marketing materials, program guides, and we actually just created the very first locally grown hemp paper brand called Hemp Stock Paper, using pure hemp pulp from Pure Hemp Technology in Fort Lupton with a partner out of Boulder. So we've got a 50-50 blended Colorado hemp grown hemp paper. So we're all excited about that.
I'm also excited about that because we printed the Hemp Business Journal on that hemp paper. So, well, it's still hemp paper.
It's still hemp.
From where? So, hi everyone, I'm Sean Murphy with the Hemp Business Journal. We started Hemp Business Journal because there wasn't a lot of data and market intelligence in the hemp industry 2 years ago. And over the course of 2 years, we've developed several market reports, the most recent one on CBD, and we believe we've solved that missing data market intelligence problem. So we like to inform everyone what's happening in the market, where are the opportunities, where are the trends,
and to really support Colorado and continue its leadership. Through the reports, that's what we found, whether it's consumer products or engineering, innovation, Colorado is one of the leaders. If not, I would just say it, the leader. So thank you for all being here. You're in the room where the leadership is happening, so thank you.
So I'll start with the first question. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the industrial hemp industry? Is two answers. So in the next year and in the next 10 years, what do you see as the biggest challenge over the next year and over the next 10 years?
Utilizing existing classifications by the USDA bio-preferred program, the trucking codes that specify the movement of hemp around the country. They've been on the books since 1911, 1934. GSA contracts that are requesting hemp products. I see within the next year, with the help of Congressman Paulus and our lobbyists in Washington, we can clearly move this forward as an industry. Obviously, we need jobs everywhere in the United States, and clearly we have enough people certified under the USDA's bio-preferred program to create a new industry.
I think the biggest challenge we have this year and in the upcoming years is just education, helping people understand that this plant's an option, helping farmers understand that they can plant this and should plant this, and helping the government, particularly the DEA, understand that this isn't a drug and it shouldn't be illegal. So I think education is key to solve that.
I would just say being able to make sure that hemp is federally legal, that it's treated like corn and potatoes, all parts of the plant, CBD, all the cannabinoid extracts, that all that is protected. Again, it's treated like any other crop. When we get to that point, things are gonna, kind of settle down for the industry, and entrepreneurs can create products. We can just really start treating this and growing this as a real industry. But until that happens, we're gonna continue to fight and have the issues that we're having.
So it's absolutely those three, and you guys, like 1, 2, 3 took my answer. So I'm gonna go with my fourth thought on it. I think it's consumer demand, everyone. We're seeing a lot of extra supply. We can produce hemp now, and that's going well, and states are coming online, but if people aren't buying all of these new and innovative hemp products, if they're not educated to understand, if it's not fully federally legal, that's going to be tough for us. We need to have consumers in the market in general, our friends, our family, people to understand what hemp is and why it's a better product in many cases than what they're currently using.
Consumers are aware. My company is new daily 5 new requests for products spanning 74 countries. We don't have the infrastructure to process what we're currently doing. But I clearly see we have the most talented, experienced people in this room, and it starts with the farmers. And everything is identified in the supply chain. If anyone was able to be at that Sunday meeting, supply chain, I tried to spell this out. This is part of what I do as a project manager in countries. We have our teams, we are all part of a supply chain that the farmers have to be aware, first of all, that there's multiple components to this plant. And that a farmer, if you're a cotton farmer, you're growing cotton and you're sending it to a gin. You're not making the granola bars and the particle board. So the burden does not lie totally on the farmer. And all of this will be clearly spelled out when we can get into our groups.
Good. I'll be rolling around. So who has questions for our panel? I'll move the microphone over to you. Go ahead and speak to the microphone.
I'd like to know about the problems of keeping hemp from invading other fields? Do we have some answers for how to prevent hemp from winding up in farming fields, food fields? And, you know, do we have some good answers besides glyphosate?
I have
It's
no
hard to answer when there's no
experience in
farmer
that.
out there.
My experience was always,
Move the microphone a little closer to you there, so, yeah.
in the countries I've worked in, hemp was always used as a companion crop because they couldn't afford pesticides. So the hemp acted as a companion crop in biodiversity. Now that the demand has grown so highly in Western China, it's turned into more than what I am.
Any others?
I was just in North Dakota, and they glyphosate was used. It actually destroyed the hemp crop. It came over from the one farm onto the hemp crop that they were studying and destroyed the plant. So the concern probably is more the other way versus that way, versus hemp.
Great, thank you. Zeb?
Hello, everyone. So other than CBD, what do you see as the lowest hanging fruit for hemp in the next couple of years in terms of products?
Food, hemp seed, hemp oil. You know, we're already seeing it with, actually, you know, Rick Trojan's farm here is providing seed that's being dehulled and pressed for oil for Evo Hemp and some other people. And we've got Colorado hemp seed on the market right now. So food is an easy one. Everybody needs to eat food, and everybody should be eating hemp food. Eat more hemp.
I want to stress what Morris said. It really is food. So when we look at consumer sales, everyone, we realize a company, Evo Hemp's a great example. They can sell their products into Whole Foods, into the large or big box retailers. Whereas CBD, that's still very difficult and in most cases not happening. So the low-hanging fruit is really where can these products be sold and where is there already a supply chain in place for that? And with some of the products, that is either non-existent or it's still very difficult. So food, it's well greased, ready to go, and a lot of those buyers, they're going to pick up those products, and they are.
So what other infrastructure needs do you guys see that need to be in place to help create the full circle of industrial hemp industry here in Colorado and recognized?
Well, we can't until there's an amendment made on the 0.3% and what part of the plant they're testing. I believe, just from my experience in Canada, when they started growing hemp 19 years ago, that seed was testing above 0.3, I can't recall exactly, but once that seed was cleaned, it changed. Now, I'm by no means a seed expert, but it's pretty logical to look at this. If you're taking it from a field, a hemp seed pod looks like marijuana. It smells like marijuana. It's sticky like marijuana, but it's full of seed. So the brain says, okay, it's marijuana. Well, no, it's not. I believe it's the inherent property of the seed itself. Once that seed's clean, I believe it's a viable product. And currently the demand is huge because of Fukushima. We need omegas. It cannot come from our deep sea fish oil anymore. So if we could get this together, our biggest buyers for this product is Japan, China, Asian countries that are growing for fiber. They're not growing for seed. But if we don't get a move on, they will start growing for seed.
Let me just expand on that a little bit, because you brought up the 0.3%, which will probably be talked about a little bit more later on, but this percentage is very problematic, not only here in this state, but all around the country, and it's going to have to be addressed nationally. I mean, we got to look at this from the point of science, and just that hurt the industry significantly when we could say, okay, it's gone over, we can place it over into this other area now through the CDA and through regulatory practices. Let's call it purgatory. And here it is in purgatory, and we can address, okay, so it's above that, and if it's going to go into the food system, then there's a process to remove that THC so it's below the level or completely out of it. And I think that can be done with today's technology. I don't think there's any reason to be destroying crops because they're slightly over, because of what my friend Richard Rose would call the devil's molecule.
Hi, I'm David Bush. I'm an industrial hemp business attorney. My question, I'll start with an observation first, which is the internet is huge, and that we all in our businesses live and die by the internet and our websites and Facebook connections. That's how new businesses really get their starts. My question for you is, what in your experience are the challenges you're now facing using the internet, trying to promote your products, sell them, getting paid for them? What's going on these days with that?
Take a shot. So we interviewed about 55 different CBD companies to understand where they were selling their products exactly, and the vast majority said most of our products are sold on the internet. But with that has come problems, merchant account problems. Banks will shut them down and say, look, we're not going to let you keep selling this unless they reach a high enough threshold to the point that it makes sense for the bank to be like, oh, that's a pretty good account we have. We're going to let that keep going. So we've seen a lot of the CBD companies have trouble getting their merchant accounts up, but the bigger ones are doing a lot better. So whatever you're selling, it depends, right? It depends. So CBD a little bit harder, but for your fiber, I mean, for some of your basic fiber in consumer ones, I'll let you speak on that, Barbara. I don't think they're really
Recently, one of my clients sells jewelry, and she had a little hemp leaf, and she sells beads. She was denied credit card processing on the internet. Me, now I've been scrutinized for 23 years. Homeland Security has held my shipments. FedEx has held my shipments in Memphis, Tennessee. The only one they let go was the Metropolitan Opera House. The other one that was going to North Carolina to work on a waterproof finish mysteriously disappears. And we've got to discern what the subject matter is here. CBD is a medical issue. I am talking about job creation, the value added, and the amount of money our farmers are losing and the jobs that are being lost and how it has negatively affected my company and the companies that are depending on me to supply. This is job creation. I'm not at liberty to even discuss CBD because I don't have the knowledge that others do. I work with farmers, value added, and that's why I'm here. We're holding back jobs.
We're in the same bucket as marijuana when it comes to banking. What's the foreseeable future on banking?
Fargo handles my payroll account, and the SBA has given me a 504 loan to purchase a building, clearly knowing well, maybe clearly they don't, but Enviro Textiles was named Enviro Textiles, not Hemp Textiles. But it's all hemp textiles. The banking, I think we're probably going to be seeing credit unions, but something has to be done. Has to. I had people coming in my office with suitcases of cash, and I have to tell them to please leave because that's considered money laundering.
How do some of the others on the panel handle that now?
I think there's some really, looking around the room, I see like 10 or 15 people, they're doing well with their bank accounts. I would ask the peers and the people in the industry, who do you bank with? Because it's working. And a lot of those problems, I think, in Colorado have been sorted out, particularly with local banks where there's a relationship. The bigger ones are still a little bit tougher, but again, it depends on the product, depends what you're up to, and who you're working
We've gone through, cultivars went through 7 bank accounts in the last year and a half. So, including PayPal shut down. One of our owners had his PayPal shut down personally, and cultivar shut down. So, the Hemp Road Trip we've got a separate bank. We're bank with Wells Fargo, but we went in as an educational, not as, even though it says Hemp Road Trip, actually we went in under another name and then got a bank account down.
There you go.
But cultivars now is doing I think, with Wells Fargo as well. But banking's still an issue and a concern. And Barbara's right. Walking around with bags full of cash is not a way. It's not a way to do business. It's not a way for the government to track taxes. It's just, and it's terrifying. Also, walking around with
with cultivars, that was for fiber and hemp, whereas the merchant account we shut down because of CBD products, like impact on.
Yeah, so cultivars last year we were mainly focused on CBD. This year we're grain and CBD. This all happened last year. We've had knock on wood, we've had the same bank with Wells Fargo with cultivars for 6 months. The road trip has had it for about a year. So we're working with Wells Fargo, but it hasn't been. We've gone through, like I said, 6 or 7 different banks.
Do they allow credit card processing?
Yeah, they do. Well, we had one bank when we were paying $5,000 a month just for the option to, which is that's a job or two. That's 2 people we can't hire because we got to pay these fees to this bank. It's absurd.
What were the fees for?
$5,000 because we're a high risk account.
So remember, if you just speak very close to the microphone because they're
I'm
not.
sorry, yeah, $5,000 because we were a high risk account, so we had to pay them $5,000 a month just to be able to do business with them.
Credit card.
For a credit card processing and merchant services, all of it, full banking, with no loans, which is full banking.
I think if it has the back door, the back door way to do the back, and the front door. Because if they find out that you're giving them hemp marijuana.
If you repeat the question for everybody, repeat the question.
Yeah, he just said we should go through the front door rather than having to go through the back end system, and I agree with you. But unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work. Well, it didn't work for us 6 times. The 7th time we did it another way, and it worked.
And I banked through Wells Fargo as well. I've been with them for 20 years and ran all my music business through them. And then when I got into the hemp business, we started a new company. It's called WAFA for We Are for Better Alternatives, and we rolled all of our hemp business under there. And my banker knew exactly what it was, and we have had no problems with them. If you're up front, and if you're, we're not selling CBD. We're not growing CBD, so it's different for us. We're doing events. We did get shut down by Square when we were processing vendor and sponsorship about some international code stuff as far as industrial hemp goes, and I sent that to them, and they unlocked our account. So there's ways around it. I think it's an educational thing where, hemp is legal, especially if you're in the textiles business or the event or the paper industry or the food industry. It makes it a little bit easier than the gray area of the CBD side of things.
This is kind of directed to Sean. Today in the Post, there was the article on pot is growing, and they completely left hemp out of the equation in the article. And do you have a metric? Do you know what we were valued at over the last year approximately, so that there could be a real full picture of what's going on with cannabis in Colorado?
Sure. Yeah. What we did, everyone, with this CBD report was we tried to look at CBD derived or grown as marijuana, as well as CBD derived and grown as hemp. And what we found was hemp was a little bit less, around 40-45% of the market, 110 million versus about 115 for marijuana. So we tried to say, yes, we know CBD could be understood as both marijuana and hemp, but we wanted to make it clear in this report, it's definitely hemp over here. It's grown under a hemp license. It's being sold through natural product channels, practitioner channels.
For 19 years. Are we reinventing the wheel? We already know there's variety.
Yeah, we basically are, because we're doing a workaround because we can't bring in large quantities of seed in from Canada yet. So the workaround is we're going to, within the states that have legal hemp regimes, establish certified seed. In our country, it'll always be up to the states to define exactly what they want to certify. Some states won't allow cultivation of industrial hemp. No one's saying they have to.
Certified for what?
That it is allowable as industrial hemp and is not regulated by any type of drug enforcement regimes. It's simply an industrial crop.
How is that determined until the test is grown, until the plant is grown and then tested?
Well, because it'll come from a seed of a species of a subspecies that we know would produce a low THC content. So that would be the goal. Then the farmer would no longer have the affirmative responsibility of having to pay for testing their crop.
What happened in Nebraska? We had this, the industrial hemp in Nebraska. Some of it survived after the eradication. That seed is ditchweed.
That's all feral,
Right, but that
but
is.
it's not certified. I mean, that's what you guys started
Yeah, but
with.
I'm gonna talk about certifications. Okay, when certifications first came out, and if you don't want to.
No, this is great. And I also,
Okay.
we have the State Department of Ag here too. It'd be interesting to get their perspectives
Yeah, that
on
would be
Good.
very
what they're
helpful.
looking at as well in this area.
Okay, because when certifications first came out, started coming
Yeah,
out
but being
19
fast right
years
here in
ago,
front of everybody.
we had the LEED certification, okay? We had the NOP, National Organic Program, that was certified by the USDA. Then we ended up with 14 more certifications that came through my office for hemp. And as I read them, they were 1.0 version. After my review, I just said, I think you should stay in law, you should stay in this, because they weren't qualified. And I'm gonna give a couple examples. There was an organization called the Organic Exchange. Very interesting, their name is now called Textile Exchange. They're sponsored by DuPont. Okay, we're gonna talk about everything today. The Global Organic Textile Standard. That was another certification. Well, they just certified somebody that I made the product.
Barbara, the big.
So I want to give this to our State Department of Ag for an update on this process, how they see it.
So yeah, Congressman Polis was absolutely right. So what the seed certification program is that those mature varieties, the seed, so there's a national standard, actually an international standard, that is set for isolation, purity, make sure you're not shipping weeds or disease around. But then on top of that, those varieties will be planted around the state in test spots to make sure those varieties are below 0.3. So it doesn't matter whether it's 0.3 or 1 or whatever, but the national standard is 0.3, and so we'll look at 0.3, and those varieties that are below 0.3 in those mature plants, we'll know the plants produce below 0.3. Then those same varieties will be planted, roved, maintained to a level that is even higher purity than what certified seed is, and then from that, those plants will produce certified seed. And that seed will, because it's grown in isolation, it's cross-pollinated, it's roved, it's maintained, it's pure genetics, it'll be below 0.3, and the state will have done its job for the farmer on the front end as opposed to having to test on the back end. So when you plant those varieties, all you're going to be doing is just like Congressman Polis said, make sure that if you've got 1,000 acres out there, you've got a bill of sale that says you bought 1,000 acres of seed, and then we're all fine. I mean, what that does is demonstrate to the federal government, the DEA especially, that crop they have no concerns with. We've done our job on the front end, we've helped protect the farmer on the front end, and so those crops are produced from certified seed, will be below 0.3 and not have any problems.
And that's the only way to realistically compete in a global economy for hemp as well. I mean, if you're putting the full burden of testing on the farmer, the risk of crop destruction on the farmer, you're not going to have competitive Colorado farmers. So we have to get there because that's where the world is. So, and this is it's a global crop. We're going to have to wrap up in just a moment. So last question here, and then we'll have closing thoughts from our panel.
We grew seed last year and tested under the limit, and then this year we planted it and it went over the limit. There's no way of telling what it's going to do. I've heard you say before you should watch your crop and take it before it's there. Well, there's no crop before the THC starts, and then the change of the testing this year last year they tested the whole plant,
No, they didn't.
different leaves from different parts of the plant.
That's
This
not
year they just tested the top 3 inches. That's definitely where all the THC is going to be if there is any. I sent in tests with the whole plant and came out 0.2, and then one of them was 0.4. The state test was 0.6.
And this is where we are in the pre-certified seed era. This is why it's hard, and you are pioneers if you're growing it here, but why it is hard for you to compete globally, and why it's hard for Colorado farmers to compete because of that. And you might have had to take an economic hit with your 0.4. Where we want to get, and we're how far
Not
away
just
from
him.
now?
We should have some spring,
Okay.
some seed this spring, 2017.
For test?
No.
For production. Oh, good. So, and will the farmer, if they
This
grow
is so
that
out of
seed,
line.
they will not then have the testing burden? Okay. So that's where it has to go, right? I mean, that's where as far as I know, every country has that. So yeah, than in Colorado. So your situation, Dave, is a temporary one. It's because we haven't had that certified seed and your ability to demonstrate that you're growing the allowable seed, and that's your burden.
Can
Only
I
one supplier?
ask?
I mean, I think there could be multiple suppliers. It's just a particular variety. So we're going to have to go for, and this is, again, so you're pioneers in the industry. That's why you're dealing with what you're dealing with. The only way that Colorado can compete internationally, even nationally, is to be where we know we need to be over the next year or two with certified seeds. So that's where it's going.
Well,
That's
can I
where
ask Dwayne a
Canada has been for
question?
years.
Can I ask
Yes.
Dwayne a question? If the test was taken from the foliage, the leaf and the flower, why is it Dave can't utilize the stalk to supply Melissa, to supply
So
me?
that's just, as far as I know, as far as I understand, that's just the law in Colorado right now, right? So if
Right.
the test's over, you destroy it. I don't think you can use parts of it, right? That's just our law. But even if we did, that's just a workaround. The better answer is the certified seed. That's where you have to be. It's hard, whether it's even economically viable to separate different parts of this crop, I have no idea. But it's clearly not a good money-making thing. Where you want to be is you grow the right certified seed, you're fine, you can sell your crop, and that's where we will be. So, let's have closing thoughts from the panel. We'll go down and start with Sean.
Mine are simple, everyone. Yeah, there's challenges. We're all feeling that, but there's also incredible opportunity. And although we're seeing some legislative issues, we are very blessed and fortunate to be in Colorado. Congressman Bullis, he is the champion of hemp on the Hill. He is here in this district, so be grateful we're in Colorado. There's going to be challenges, but I'm also incredibly optimistic with the market growing and more opportunities becoming available. You're in the right place at the right time.
Well, I will just second what Sean said. I mean, there are tremendous opportunities. There's great momentum. There's great energy in this industry. I've been seeing it come together here the last 3 years at events where, all these people come under one roof and they're jazzed and they're making business relationships and they're interacting with the consumer. We are growing this consumer base, as Sean is talking about. And, you're in the right place at the right time. I just can't, second that more than I already have.
I want to say thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jared Pullis, for putting this on. It's great to see new faces. Please talk about hemp, help educate people about hemp, buy hemp food, clothing, help support the industry with your purchases, and educate yourselves more and educate everyone else and bring new faces next time.
I'm sorry, farmers, we couldn't make it this year. And it's not intended for human consumption or epidermal use. And hold on to it, Dave. We're gonna get this passed.
Good. So we are now going into the meat of our day, which is our breakout sessions. And I think some people might have come late. Is there anybody who did not sign up for the breakout sessions and missed that part? Okay. So hopefully you all have signed up.
All right, well, the USDA group had some great conversations about USDA's role in continuing to build the industry. I'd say our top one ended up as the establishing a center of excellence for hemp. in Colorado. Under USDA, NIFA is the National Institute for Food and Agriculture. They have a program that funds these centers of excellence for various sectors of the agricultural community. And they are actively looking for an applicant to focus on hemp. We think that in the meetings we had, they were looking at both Colorado and Kentucky as on the assumption that they would be the two states that would be likely. And so game on. Let's figure out how to bring a center of excellence here to Colorado. The center of excellence generally is established to help remove duplicity in developing an industry and to get efficient, to get much more efficient deliverables to the farmers.
Efficient?
Efficient.
How many times did he do this?
Second is to help work with RMA, which is the risk management agency at USDA, to build a crop insurance product for the hemp industry. That's a big one. A program that takes 5 years to become established. So we'd like to get that started as well. And I'm going to let Dwayne.
Absolutely.
You only need one more, right?
Yeah.
So one will, the other one would just be to work on some clarification with USDA on animal feed, working with, and the National Organic Program on certification, clearing those up.
Yep. Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Woo! All right. I apparently don't need this. Rick and Sean for Grassroots Revival, do you guys want to give us your achievables?
Yeah.
No.
You and Blaine.
Yeah.
When it's your turn, it's for us to talk about what we'll talk about.
Did you fall?
The industrial hemp farm bill, so you and Blaine are going to get on
Okay, we had a lively conversation at the Grassroots Revival. We settled on one general thought, and that was a social movement. And we've seen some things work, like avocado marketing in the Super Bowl, but we thought more around what David has going on at THC Mag. David, you want to remind us if you're out there? Hemp is the answer. We have Morris working on what, Morris? Vote in prohibition. But what we thought as a goal would be to have a unifying social movement that could help educate the public. We kept coming back to education and to have a social movement. Okay, number 2, we all committed in the second group to talk to one person between now and November 8th and explain to them the difference between hemp and marijuana. One person we think who doesn't know, we're going to go educate that person. We're going to take that on as a responsibility. And I would put that as a goal for everybody in here. Kept going back to education. And this other stuff is good. We had a goal around creating a hemp incubator or a hemp accelerator, branching out from something similar to Canopy Boulder. Jobs came up. We discussed a lot, but it wasn't a lot of goals in the Grassroots Revival. It was more about starting things.
Good.
Getting momentum.
Fine, that's good.
All right, thank you. So,
Right.
but can everyone connect with me, make sure we all can?
I'll get there.
Passionate about the
Hey, Robert,
education.
do you want to talk about, there you are. Worried that you snuck out there for a second.
All right. Thank you. So the topic was state and federal intersection regarding industrial hemp, right? You guys hear me? Some of the things we talked about we need to eliminate the adulterant classification of hemp foods that come from other than non-viable hemp seed. So you can just put eliminate
We're working
adulterant
together.
classification.
That's my new best friend.
What classification?
Adulterant. Yes.
Adult.
We need clarity regarding what in fact is Farm Bill compliant for purposes of investment. We're never going to have investment in appropriate processing facilities that process the whole plant unless and until it's very clear. Right now, people will invest in marijuana businesses before they'll invest in hemp businesses. And it's because there's at least clarity on that side, regulatory-wise. We need to obviously take industrial hemp out of the Controlled Substances Act. We need tribal clarification or codification. We need tribes to have actual laws, not a policy memo which is vague and frankly has caused plants to be cut down all over this country because there's only a memo which is about as vague as any of the from the marijuana. Use of the term CBD and medicine when we talk about these products, because those have legal significance that will preclude the operators in this room from doing business.
Yes, thank you.
And those are the sum of the concrete achievables for my group. Thank you, Mark.
You go ahead.
So we had a semi-similar conversation to the state and federal relationship conversation as well, and so there was definitely some overlap there, but basically we had a conversation about what sort of amendments and so forth we might be able to do to move the ball forward without, the whole ball moving forward, such as the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. So one of the things that consistently came up was tribal clarification, including tribes and Indian country as states are now under the Farm Bill. We also talked about crop insurance and making sure that hemp farmers and so forth are included and have access to that in a clear way, which sort of dovetails with being able to certify organic hemp and working under that umbrella as well. And then also we had a discussion about federally regulated water and being able to use that for hemp products without issues, because obviously that water is being regulated by feds under which it's illegal. We had a ton of different ideas that we're going to look at pursuing, but those were just a couple of the highlights. Did you want to say anything?
Just one thing, we also looked at the fact that the USDA Bio-Preferred program has certified countless companies for hemp products.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I think that this is an amazing list. So, round of applause to all of you guys for participating and making this list happen, because this is great. Woo! So in looking at this list, I think that this is twofold. One, there are 3 things that we're going to need to take back that Blaine and Camilla and I will need to discuss with Congressman Polis of how federally, legislatively, we can make these things happen. So I'm going to highlight what I think they are, and if anybody feels like chiming in, go for it. This is an interactive session, guys. Give and take. One, I think we go from the clarification of organics. That came up a few times. I think it also goes back to the tribal clarification, and then there's crop insurance. I think those are the top 3 things federally that our office needs to take a look at. Is there anything else that you guys really want to bring up?
Can you also add to your list the elimination of adulterated classification for all?
In the bio,
Yeah.
please.
Because the adulterated stops 90% of our industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That wasn't brought up.
What?
But that is.
And that was the idea that the med and the regulations we're seeing in the marijuana industry are encroaching on us in the industry. And we need to figure out what to do about that. How do we self-regulate in the industry? How do we ensure that we're not being consumed by the med and the marijuana?
Also, one more to add, our first group is very strong on this topic. That
I'm going to try to do it for soap using the Colorado hemp seed oil. Is it only imported?
Dwayne's over there.
Because I want to try to do for domestic because I just got approval for the Colorado Proud logo, you know, when you go on your produce. And so I want to try for the BioPreferred for soap with hemp seed oil. Let's see, because they're going to limit you an allergen, so you can't supply about 20-25%. For me, that's small.
I'm really trying to type. Right. That's not
The bio, I mean, yeah, I agree. I agree. This is ludicrous. I agree. I agree.
Law enforcement, there needs to be a similar protocol. That all these different law enforcement agencies are doing different things, and it's not a coordinated enforcement of what to do after somebody comes in over. And this has created all sorts of headaches and duplication across the process. So we need to get on the same page.
Thank you, Sean. Great wisdom. Yes, Chris. Yes, so, well, and then we're going to have the conversation about what are the things that we can do as a community. So, I think that this is a ample list for our office at this point in time, mostly because I can see Blaine starting to panic and under the collar. But these are things that our office consistently talks about, and something that we're definitely aware of, and things that we are excited to work on as we move into the 115th Congress.